No one tells you this part about being a parent. I'm 68 years old, and last week my daughter Emma called me. She said 5 words that broke something inside me. Dad, do you remember me? Not as a question about memory, but as a question about presence, about whether I was ever really there. And the worst part? I couldn't answer her honestly, because the truth is, I wasn't. I missed it all, and I didn't even realize it was happening. What I'm about to tell you, I wish someone had told me when I was 30, before it was too late. My name is Michael. Well, everyone calls me Mike. I spent 37 years as an accountant. That's what I did. A man who worked hard, brought home a paycheck, and kept the bills paid. I thought if I could give my family a comfortable life, that made me a good father, a good husband. But here's what they don't tell you in school, or at work, or anywhere. You can do everything right on paper and still lose everything that matters. I was wrong about that, but I didn't know it yet. And by the time I figured it out, well, that's the story I need to tell you. Janet and I got married in 1979. I was 26, she was 24, and we had this little apartment in Manchester with walls so thin you could hear the neighbors sneeze. We didn't have much, but we had plans. Big plans. Emma came first in 1981, then David in 1983, Sophie in 1987. 3 kids in 6 years. Janet used to joke that our house was a factory of chaos. Toys everywhere, crayon marks on the walls, someone always crying or laughing, or both, at the same time. And me? I was building a career. That's what fathers did, right? You provided. You worked hard. You made sure there was food on the table, clothes on their backs, a roof over their heads. The firm I worked for, they liked me. Steady, reliable Mike. Never missed a deadline. Never turned down overtime. I remember Janet saying to me one evening, Emma must have been about 4. Mike, she asked me today why you're never home for dinner. And I said, I'm doing this for them, for all of you. I believed that. I really did. The thing about ambition is, it whispers to you. It tells you just one more year, and just one more promotion, and once we have enough saved, then you'll slow down. But enough never comes. The goalpost keeps moving. I missed Emma's first school play. She was a sunflower in some garden show. Janet recorded it on our camcorder. I watched it 2 weeks later at 11 p.m. after finishing a client presentation. On the tape, I could hear Emma asking, Is Daddy here? And Janet whispering, He's working, sweetheart. David learned to ride a bike without me. The training wheels came off on a Saturday morning while I was at the office catching up. When I got home that evening, he'd already moved on to playing with something else. I said, Hey, I heard you rode your bike today. He just shrugged and said, Yeah. That was it. The moment was gone. Sophie was the quiet one. She'd draw these pictures, elaborate scenes with dragons and castles, and she'd leave them on my desk. I'd find them buried under contracts and tax forms. I kept meaning to ask her about them, kept meaning to sit down and just look at them with her. But there was always something more urgent, always another fire to put out at work. The firm made me partner when I was 39. I thought I'd made it. I took the family out to dinner to celebrate. Fancy restaurant, white tablecloths, the works. And I remember looking across the table at Emma, David, and Sophie. They were polite. They smiled. They said, Congratulations. But they looked at me like I was a guest in their lives. I told myself it was a phase. Kids get distant when they hit their teenage years, right? That's normal. I was providing everything they needed. Good schools, nice clothes, family holidays once a year. What more could they want? David was 17 when it happened. The moment I can't forget. He'd applied to universities, good ones. He was bright, my son, really bright. And one evening he came to me with this folder. It had all his acceptance letters. He sat down across from me in my home office, the same office where I'd spent thousands of hours, and he said, Dad, I got into Cambridge. I looked up from my laptop. I said, "That's wonderful, David. Well done." And I meant it. I was proud. He nodded, didn't smile, and then he asked me something. He said, "Do you know what I want to study?" And I froze. My mind went completely blank. I had no idea. Was it engineering? Economics? Medicine? I'd been so busy, so absent, that I didn't know what my own son was passionate about. I saw it in his face. The exact moment he realized I didn't know, his jaw tightened. He looked down at the folder in his hands, and he said, very quietly, "It's okay, Dad. It's history. I want to study history. But you wouldn't know that because you've never asked." He stood up, left the folder on my desk, and walked out. I sat there for an hour, maybe longer, just staring at that folder. And something cracked open inside me. All those years, all those hours, all that providing, and I didn't know my son. Not really. I knew his birthday. I knew his exam results because they came in the mail, but I didn't know him. What made him laugh? What scared him? What he dreamed about at night? Janet found me there. She didn't say anything, just put her hand on my shoulder. And that somehow made it worse, because she knew. She'd been trying to tell me for years, in gentle ways, in frustrated ways, and I'd never listened. The next few years were strange. David went to Cambridge. He'd call Janet every week, me maybe once a month. The conversations were polite, surface level. "How are you?" "Fine." "How's school?" "Good." That was it. Emma got married in 2003. I walked her down the aisle. I gave a speech at the reception. Everyone laughed at my jokes. But when I sat down, I caught her looking at me with this expression. It was like she was sad for me, like she pitied me. Sophie moved to London for work. She's a graphic designer, incredibly talented. She sends Janet her portfolio updates. She calls her mum for advice, to share her victories and her struggles. She sends me a Christmas card every year. That's about it. I retired 2 years ago. 37 years with the same firm. They threw me a party, gold watch, speeches about dedication and service. I came home that evening, and Janet was in the kitchen making tea. I said to her, "I did it. I provided for them. I gave them everything." And she looked at me, this woman who'd been by my side for over 4 decades, and she said, "Mike, you gave them everything, except yourself." That's when I understood. Too late, but I understood. They didn't need a provider. They needed a father. They needed someone who knew what their favorite book was, who showed up to their school events, not just in body, but in spirit, and who asked them questions and actually listened to the answers. They needed me to see them, really see them, and I'd been too busy looking at spreadsheets. I've tried to fix it. I call more now. I ask questions. I showed up to Sophie's art exhibition last month, unannounced. She was surprised to see me, genuinely surprised. We talked for 20 minutes about her work, and for the first time in years, I saw her eyes light up. Then her phone rang, and she had to go, and that was it. But it was something, a crack in the wall I'd built. Here's what I wish someone had told me 50 years ago. Your children don't need your money. They need your time. And time is the one thing you can never get back. I thought I was being a good father by working myself into the ground. I thought providing meant staying late at the office, climbing the corporate ladder, and building a financial cushion. And yes, those things matter. But they don't matter more than being present. You know what kills me? I can remember dozens of board meetings from the 1990s. Presentations I gave clients. I landed deals I closed. But I can't remember what Emma's first words were. I don't know what David's favorite subject was in primary school. I never asked Sophie about those dragon pictures. Those moments, the small ones, the ones that feel insignificant when you're in them, those are the ones that matter. That's where life actually happens. Not in the office, not in the next promotion, in your kitchen at breakfast, in your car on the way to school, in those 10 minutes before bedtime when your kid wants to tell you about their day. I was there physically. I lived in the same house, but I was absent. My mind was always somewhere else, solving problems that don't matter anymore, chasing goals that feel empty now. And the cruelest part? You don't get a do-over. Emma's school play happened once. David learned to ride a bike once. Sophie's childhood happened once. I can't go back. No amount of money I made can buy me those moments back. So if you're watching this and you have kids, put down your phone, close your laptop, look at them, ask them about their day, and actually listen. Show up. Be there. Not just in body, but in mind and heart. Because one day you'll be 68 like me, and your daughter will call you and ask, "Dad, do you remember me?" And you'll want the answer to be yes. Not just, "Yes, I remember you," but "Yes, I was there. Yes, I saw you. Yes, I knew you." Don't make my mistake. You still have time. I don't. If this story made you stop and think, if it reminded you of someone you love, then take that feeling with you. Call them. Sit with them. Be present. And if you want more stories like this, stories that make you pause, reflect, and see life a little more clearly, subscribe to this channel. Like this video so it reaches someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below. Tell me who you're choosing to show up for today.